Hello, pen friends. Thank you for joining us for another special episode of Pen Talk. And I'm your host, Tom Otto, and I'm here joined with a very special guest here today who flew over from Germany, Michael Gutberlet, a CEO of Kaweco Pens. And I really appreciate you tuning in to check out the video, and I appreciate Michael here coming to do an interview with us. And we're going to be talking all about Kaweco Pens and Michael's involvement with the company and since taking it and bringing it into the modern 21st century. So I just wanted to ask, first of all, I just want to say thank you for joining us, and how are you enjoying things here in the States?
Thank you for being here. I enjoy America always a lot because I love New York especially, and I like the buildings, the architecture, and so one of my best things is New York always to walk between the houses and the skyscrapers. I love that. It's
inspiring to see like the massive architecture and all the modern styles.
It's the mixture what I like, and it inspires me also partly for my products. I have to say this is what I absorb around the world. But I say it again, I love New York.
Please share with our audience a little bit of history of Kaweco and how you became involved with the brand.
Yeah, Kaweco is a very old brand, goes back to 1883, as you may know. My father was an agent for pen parts, and Kaweco was one of the customers. But this was not the starting point where I was along, because I was only 3 years old during that time. Mm-hmm. But when we start a pen collection, and this was around 1982, I had no birthday gift for my father, and I found on a flea market an Italian safety pen. I bought it and gifted it to my father. This was for us totally new. Even we were in the pen business, this pen, the safety pen, impressed us a lot. So we started to collecting antique pens everywhere where we got some, in Paris, in London. We were on auctions, and I bought nearly every pen I could get. And one day there was a lot of Kaweco Sport on the table in a lot of colors, and we asked ourselves, hey, who is making a pocket fountain pen? And there was no one following up this stuff. So we decided, okay, we make a pocket pen. During that time we had not the Kaweco name, but this of course was the second logical reaction. We searched for the name, and luckily we could get it worldwide, and then we registered it. This was the starting point.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. How has Kaweco changed since you had become part of the company?
In the beginning we had only the Kaweco Sport Classic. This was an injection molded fountain pen, and we thought this is enough for the market. Some months, some years later, the dealers told us, or the shop owners told us, this is not enough because they cannot make enough money on that pen. It's too cheap. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is not alone. Staying alone product doesn't help. We need some range of products in different price classes. This would help to enter in the market.
So it was the introduction of like a lot of the, let's say, the higher end of the sport, or like the Dia models and the higher ended models that came about.
Yes, it was the Dia, it was the student or the special pen, because the people said, okay, we need something in that range. Mm-hmm. And so we developed it. But before we had another interesting step, because it comes not from alone that every pen today have this DNA of Kaweco, of the old Kaweco DNAs. Mm-hmm. Because in the beginning we asked a designer to develop a new Dia pen. I must smile because we spent a lot of money for the designer, mm-hmm. and we made prototypes, which costs also a lot of money. And then we went to Paper World and showed this to the shop owners or to the buyers, and the reaction was so clear. Everyone said, this is not a Kaweco pen. Even I feel we had some DNA inside, but everyone said no. So after the fifth visitor, we said, okay, we can take away this piece. When we are back home, we know what we have to do.
Right.
And then we just take a look in our museum, and there was the designs there. We had it.
It was part of all of your collection that you had built up, that you had alluded to earlier, saying that, you know, you started with the Italian safety pen, but then you had seen there's a wealth of Kaweco pens that, you know, were all vintage items, and so then that's what you use as your inspiration then to make the current models.
Yes, in the beginning in the collection we collect everything, really. I started with any pen brand. It doesn't matter. I filled a garage full of pens and pencils. My wife was one day saying, hey, this month you spent more money for pens than your income is. She was really afraid of.
Yeah.
And but I took really nearly everything. Mont Blanc, Pelikan, Old Lamy, Onoto, Waterman, Parker, Scheffer. Really, I had nearly everything what I can get in Germany. And then I started in Paris when I was traveling on business, or in London, or in Milano. I found a lot. In Denmark, I found a lot. So, but one day I decided only to stay on the German brands, and one day I decided to stay only on the Kaweco brands for my collection. So,
I think that resonates a lot with people who watch this, because that's what, especially the part about you know, spending more than you're making on the pens and everything. That tends to be, a lot of people have that struggle where it's like, oh, the new limited edition, if they're collecting, you know, it's like, oh, you know, I'd have to buy this now.
yeah.
But it's a lot of fun though. There's a lot worse addictions than getting addicted to pens. So
It's a process.
Yeah.
It's always a process, you know. When you are starting to collecting something, it would be good if you can make a concentration from the beginning, and what that you say clearly, this is my frame where I collect. But this is not the normal collector way.
Right.
Yeah. So a collector way starts on some point, then this is interesting, you know.
yeah,
And
there's
then it's
that
getting
enthusiasm.
larger, and then yes, exactly, and then on the end you have to shrink it down. Yeah, but for Kaweco, I was buying not only pens, you know. I bought showcases. I bought papers, you know. When I got an old invoice from 1910 or 1920, I bought old advertisement. So
and that was a lot of the source material for this book as well.
For the book, this is how then the book could be born, and it took, together with a friend of mine, Gerhard Brandl, it took us 5 years to set it up and to make it. Yeah.
Knowing the history, and you know quite a bit about the heritage and the DNA of the product, where do you see that Kaweco could be in the next 10 years?
Oh, we will go on with the pens, of course. We have a lot of ideas which are not in the market yet. My problem is always I have too much ideas to get it under control.
Right.
Because every idea costs money.
Right.
First to develop it, and the second one to produce it, and the third one to bring it to the market. So, but to have more and more fans, it's more and more easy to decide, okay, now we go on with that project. On the other side, we see Kaweco as well, of course, not only in pens. We want to go also a little bit in accessories or in little lifestyle products. So this is because we have a lot of fans which carry around the Kaweco Sport aluminium or classic in their pocket, and they have also a knife, or they have some leather pocket on the belt.
Yeah, watch and glasses.
Yeah,
and
something. So this is the direction we think about.
like a total lifestyle.
Yeah, a little lifestyle, yes, concept.
So you just exhibited at the New York Now show in New York City. What was your big item that, let's say, the one that attracted most people toward the Kaweco products?
Our eye catcher is always the Kaweco Sport. And most of the visitors come and say, wow, okay, Kaweco Sport, this is still new for me, or this is running very well in our shop or in our store. And so this is always the starting point of the discussion. If somebody want to go into the market newly or want to start with a pen of Kaweco, the Pekeo one is now the easygoing. It's not a lot of money, and they just can afford it, and then they can go slowly higher in the price class.
Is there anything that you could kind of talk about that might be new and upcoming, to share with people, that would be Kaweco fans that are maybe looking for the next release of a new sport or new items?
We are working on several news, and of course with the sport especially, we are coming up with new colors. This I can promise. Beside the rose gold, which is very famous now, and the fountain pen is now in rose gold as well. Everybody can buy it. We come with the red aluminum sport. And we will come with shortly with some 2 new colors, one in Skyline and one in the Classic, to refresh it. And what I can say also, we will work in future on the I series. There will be a change, and we will refresh the colors as well.
How do you come up with the designs of the new pens?
The last couple of years, all the products which at the moment exist really come from the old products. So because I was working with my antique pens a lot in the evening, in the night, and on the weekend to work on the book, because I took old pictures for the book. Okay. So I touched the pens. I opened it. I tried it, not to write, but I was looking on the function. What gives me the feeling, or when I see some techniques, like for the Lilliput, the old Lilliput in ebonite, it was 3 parts. It was the cap, the barrel, and the grip part, and then the feed and the nib. Of course, this you need always. But this was fascinating for me. Today we make the pen very complicated, and I wanted to go back, and this is why the Lilliput has only 3 metal parts. So this was my thinking, and this is really a sign, that you can adapt the old one to the new one.
And sometimes the simplicity in its design is, it's appreciated, and it's also timeless as well.
Yes, that's the interesting point. But sometimes I learn from the technique and of the old days, and I really wonder, because during that time they made everything by hand, with a normal turning machine. They did not have a CNC machine. Right. And so I really wonder how they did it. So this is fascinating me. Yeah? There is a fascination for me.
Well, that's probably why it was so simple. It's just that it had to be replicated, by hand as opposed to doing it by machine. Yeah. And then when you have the ability to do it by machine, and you have the ability to make it complex, sometimes people just make it complex just out of the fact that they could, when really the old way was the way of being able to do it. And that's why I kind of see a lot of things going back to these days, is that, like we had it right all along, but we just made it overly complicated for ourselves.
Yes, exactly.
What's your favorite go-to pen from your collection?
Yeah, I have the Sport and the Lilliput always with me in my pocket of my shorts or trousers. Even when I make Sport, I have always one pen for me to test it if the ink feeder stays. Even when I'm skating with my outdoor skates, so I'm biking, I have always my Sport in my pocket. Yeah,
and that's what it's made for. It's made for carrying on the go. So.
Right. So, and this is why I test it really live, and this is important for me.
What do you think that would be the next big trend in pens, or in writing in general?
There's a wish in the market for flex nibs, for really flex nibs. And when I see the antique pens, what Kaweco did, they had so many very, very, very good flex nibs. I have some designs in mind that I may invest one day in special tooling for a flex nib. because I have a friend. He's also a sketcher for Disney in Europe.
Okay.
He sketched the Donald line, and I met him once in Frankfurt, and so we become friends. And he said, why you don't make a flex nib? Already some years ago.
Right.
And then I cannot get any pens anymore. As he said, he buys everything on the flea market when he get a Waterman, when he got this. So just to have some flexible gold nibs. So, and then I said, sorry, I do not have it. And I grabbed at home some of my spare antique Kawecos and Watermans, and I sent him all with the flex nib, I sent him all what I had. So, but this would be, I think, a good thing to push the fountain pen business a little bit more. Also, I'm a little bit afraid that maybe the people need then the time to learn again to work with flexible nib, because when you press a little bit too much, no ink comes out. This is the problem of flex nib.
Like, I've heard it equated to driving a manual transmission car as opposed to driving an automatic. So with, like, let's say an italic nib, you get that line variation just by simply doing the downstroke, and you would see it very clearly without having to put any pressure. But with the flex nib, you have to put the pressure in yourself and to create that line variation. So what a lot of people then would do is that they push it way too far and then splay the tines, or not get the ink starvation where you would railroad the line, and it just
So we need a press alarm, like for the toothbrush. When you press too far, it's flashed.
It'll get you. It'll stop writing altogether. It'll just lock up on you.
Yes. Yeah, if somebody's interested in to study the Kaweco history, they can take a look in my book, or when they want to know a little bit more about my family, because it says Kaweco, Gutberlet crossing Kaweco. This subtitle I chose because when the book was ready, I found out, okay, we are already a part of the Kaweco history again, and I added my father's story, how he come to do the pen business, because without him I would not maybe in the pen business.
Right.
And this is a part of pen industry culture what is put together in this book.
I just want to thank you for joining us here and for spending some time answering our questions. And Kaweco's a great brand for us at Goldspot Pens, and it's great to be able to further get some more of the story that you have shared with us, and some of the ideas that that it's one thing when we actually see the product and we experience the product, but to know that the people behind it and the ideas and the history behind it really make it that much more special for us. So I appreciate and I thank you for sharing that with us today.
Yeah, thank you also that I could be here and that I can talk a little bit about Kaweco history. And if somebody is interested, anytime can send an email. If they have some question, no problem. Our team will try to help and try to answer. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Stay inky, my friends.